Hello and welcome to this special episode of the Point Forward Podcast, playoff edition. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Indiana Pacers. We did this last year. Let's do it again. It is our preview of this first round playoff series. It gets underway Saturday in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Indianapolis, and got a couple people to join me to talk about it. Jim Owczarski, of course, of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, is here, but we are joined as well by Indy Star Pacers reporter Dustin Dopirak. Thank you guys for joining. Dustin, welcome back to the show. This team is the same as it was last year, so they ran it back, and I think they're better, or I mean their record certainly says they're better. The pace is slowed down, but this is still a team that's a frenetic and has some of the major contributors that the Bucks saw last time. So right off the top, give me the Pacers, state of the union situation. They ran it back, and it looks like things worked out pretty well for them, right?
Yeah, reasonably well. I mean, they had a really bad start. We're 10-15 to start the year. First 25 games, which is kind of a wreck, and those 15 losses included teams that had no business getting beat by Charlotte Hornets, Brooklyn Nets, Toronto Raptors, kind of the bottom of the East. And if you had a lot of reasons to question what is going on with them. And
sounds familiar. Yeah, that happened here too. Fantastic.
So you guys know what that looks like. And big thing there, obviously, part of it was they were dealing with a lot of injuries early, and they had their two backup centers toward their Achilles in the first 8 days of the season, and Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman. Aaron Nesmith had a bad ankle sprain. Andrew Nembhard was dealing with some knee tendonitis, and Ben Shepherd, strained an oblique really bad in a game against the Heat. On one level, you're looking at it and saying, okay, well, they still had their top 4 scorers at the time, and Haliburton, Siakam, Turner, and Mathurin. But really, Nembhard and Nesmith in particular, and Shepherd to a lesser degree, are a really big piece of their connective tissue. And really, since they got back, that's been better. Obviously, Tyrese Haliburton obviously had a horrendous start to the year as well. I think he was shooting 28% from 3. As of about November 22nd, I think the first game they played in Milwaukee this year was really the first half of that game was real rock bottom for him. He hit some threes in the second half of that game that made the numbers look okay. But, we talked to him at the end of just after that game, and it's as despondent as I've ever seen him. He was just, totally befuddled as to what was going wrong. And then he did seem to flip a switch after that weekend to kind of figure out I've just got to stop being this guy. And he got it together, was pretty good up until then. And between then and the All-Star break, and since the All-Star break, he's been sensational. But really, since they got Nembhard back in particular, then even more since they got Nesmith back, they're playing a much better brand of defense, certainly, especially since you saw from last year when they were just really content to just outscore teams. This year's group, I think, is really relying on full court pressure. And I think you can still beat them by getting into the paint. I mean, they're not you wouldn't call them a great defense, but they have figured out an identity and a way to win defensively. And I think that's the biggest thing that's changed is, again, they're really Nembhard, starting with Nembhard, they're really, full court pressing is, going full court man-to-man on everybody, just picking up 94 feet. And that includes, while Nembhard is the guy that's usually picking up the ball handler, if teams try to switch it up a little bit and have their 4-man bring it up or something like that, Siakam can defend 94 feet. Nesmith can defend 94 feet. Miles Turner has been willing to do it on the occasions when a center has been willing to try to take an entry pass. I think I remember him getting a steal against Victor Wembanyama in that game in San Antonio. So you saw really that flip. Other than that, there's been a lot of cohesion. Obviously the fact that there's what's the word for another word for continuance? What I'm thinking here, they're because they together. Yeah. So that's made them better. So that's how they've changed, even though they've had a lot of the same guys.
Yeah, it's so interesting, Dustin, that you say that, because I mean it really is a great segue right into this series, because without Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo is the ball handler. He's now, granted, he is a 4-man, and so that'll be really fascinating to see what the Pacers do there and how the Bucks, alleviate some of that pressure, because I would say last year Dame was hobbled, but the 94 feet thing was an issue. Particularly, I think, at the end of the series, right, when it was clear Dame couldn't really move and Chris was it, right, and Patrick Beverley was the only other option to bring the ball up, right? So Ryan Rollins is a 22-year-old. He's not a rookie, but this is his first playoff. Kevin Porter Jr., not a rookie, but this is his first playoff. So they have wanted Giannis to start everything and not just in transition. So that'll be really interesting, JR, if they're taking the ball out of the net. And Dustin, if the Bucks can do what they've been doing since Dame's out, which is Giannis bring it up, or if it's going to have to be Ryan Rollins and Kevin Porter Jr. and then get it to Giannis. So that'll be really interesting to see over the course of the series.
Jim, I don't think there's anything separate from Damian Lillard from what we kind of learned on Tuesday. Anything more to glean? The Bucks released a statement saying he's improving, but we talked about this. Like, there's going to be a lot of he's improving, he's doing light work, he's doing this, but until he's in practice, you just have to assume he's not going to be there. I have zero belief that he will be here at any point during the Indiana Pacers series. I don't know if there's a window beyond that, but like this is going to be a series without Damian Lillard. And so I guess I don't know, again, if there's anything separate from what's kind of out there already, whether or not you have any optimism that he could play, and two, how things ultimately, and you kind of already touched on that, how things ultimately change without him. Do the Bucks still have a chance here without him? I guess is kind of the next natural question.
Yeah, Dame's out. I mean, I'll say it, like it would be a medical marvel. And so, I'm not going to feel bad about that. I guess if he shows up for Game 7 as a and he's on Good Morning America to talk about this incredible recovery, right? No, I don't see any way he plays. So yeah, interestingly, unlike last year, fellas, and Dust, I'm curious your point of view on this, where the Bucks wanted nothing to do with the Pacers in the playoffs. One of the reasons Giannis and Dame got hurt at the end of the year because they were trying to win some games late and get out of that matchup. This is this is the matchup the Bucks would have wanted. They beat the Pacers 3-1. It took a Haliburton
miracle,
crazy miracle shot, 4-point play. Still somewhat controversial in Doc Rivers' eyes. Yeah, Dame participated in a couple of those games. He wasn't. Look, Dame's presence is a factor, but I wouldn't say he dominated those games. I mean, Giannis is the key.
Yeah.
Look, this series won 6 games last year with Chris Middleton on 2 broken ankles and Dame on 1 Achilles. They're a Bobby Portis ejection away, maybe, from winning the series, and or at least going 7 games, and who knows, right? To Dustin's point earlier, they have nothing for Giannis. They continue to have nothing for Giannis. And I don't know if he's going to be willing to let the Bucks lose 3 straight years in the first round. I realize it's a team game. I realize there are matchup issues all over the place for the Bucks. But yeah, they have a chance, JR, because look, the Bucks are still they've had enough time without Dame. It's like March 22nd. Like, this isn't Giannis is out 2 days before the season, right? Or before the playoffs. This isn't, Dame strained his Achilles in Game 3, right? Or Game 1, whatever it may be. They've had time for this. Actually, take that back. Dame strained the Achilles in the season finale. So, yeah, they have a chance, and it's a pretty simple game plan for the Bucks. Try not to turn the ball over, and then defensive rebound, finish some possessions, and not let the Pacers get out and go. Either on second chances or transition. It's easier said than done, of course. That's why the Pacers win a bunch of games. But yeah, they've got a chance because they've got the best player. He's playing at arguably the peak of his powers. And he's highly motivated, which, it's Giannis like that is really, really hard to beat.
Yes, Lillard did hurt himself in the regular season finale, but when he played in that series, was as far as scoring goes, well over 30 points a game. Like, he was super valuable. Now, that was without Giannis. It was a very different dynamic, but it's not like they're going to be able to just overcome that level of production. Dustin, I want to ask you a little bit more about Tyrese Haliburton. You mentioned his very slow start. He, of course, from Oshkosh, Wisconsin native. There, I think, officially is a rivalry between Tyrese Haliburton's Pacers and the Milwaukee Bucks. Overall, over the course of the season, his numbers are down a little bit, but I think with 3-point% shooting is up. And I kind of attribute that to maybe a full season of Pascal Siakam, that maybe that's where you see the slight subtraction of scoring, maybe the assists. But he wasn't an all-star this year after that slow start for the first time in 3 years. Is he the same player? Is he back to kind of where he was, would you say?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you take away the first 15 games, just if you just delete that, if you just imagine his season started on like November 24th, then he's right where he's been, throughout his career. I think he finished somewhere around 39% from three. I think since he's probably more like 42, 43. I don't know if it's 42. It's not that high. It's probably, but it's above 40 since then. I think he's probably around, closer to 19 points a game and, close to double-digit assists. I think if you go from there, and really since the break, he's been even better than that. I mean, his assist to turnover since the All-Star break is absurd. It's like 11 to like 1.5. Just absolutely crazy. Honestly, the first 10 games after the All-Star break is the best I've ever seen him play. That was, he was shooting the lights out. After that, he had, I think, a hip flexor thing where he missed 3 games, and then he had a lower back thing where he missed 3 games. So he hasn't, the shooting has cooled since then, but those 10 games immediately after the break were, again, he was just playing absolutely sublime basketball. So he's certainly back to being, who you wanted to be. I mean, I think that physically, he wasn't, it's not that it wasn't right. Like, he didn't have like an injury that he should have been sitting for. But as Rick Carlisle tells it, and Tyrese eventually, basically, whenever Haliburton talks about injuries, he's good until he has to explain what went wrong. He's like, I'm good, I'm fine. And he's like, what about your back? You keep grabbing at your back, Ty. That seems like a thing. Is the hamstring still a thing, Ty? No, man, I'm good. And then after he's been like averages like 15 on 37% shooting and 28 for 3, you're like, yeah, actually, my whole summer was terrible.
Thanks, man.
And you're like, man, like what? Why wait? Why not just tell us this at the beginning? We'll just, we can explain it. We're not trying to do it for you. We're not your PR staff, but at least we can at least tell people why you're not playing very well. Like, there is an answer, a reason for this. Like, just say it rather than like us have to tell everybody about it like after the fact. Like, oh yeah, actually this is terrible. Oh, actually he's had a lower back problem his whole life. So okay.
Well, and maybe getting how did he term it when he won an Olympic gold medal? Like, when you get an A on the group assignment, but you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But he did something though. There's a lot of practicing. There's a lot of travel. Like, that's sure. Not nothing. That's not.
Yeah.
Nothing.
No, I mean, he was around it. I mean, a lot of people ask me, he's like, is he going to skip this? He's not healthy. I was like, Ty wouldn't skip this for all the money in the world. Like, I don't care what it does to his next season. He's not going to not want to have a gold medal. He's not going to not want to be in the documentary. Like, he knew there was going to be a documentary. Like you don't think Ty wants to be that is just up Tyrese Haliburton's alley, like, to be in that forever. Oh God, yes. He doesn't care if he didn't spend the minute. If he's in the documentary, it's great.
He's not the only NBA player, I have a feeling, who thinks like that. Like, there's going to be a documentary. I got to be in that. That's
exactly. I mean, he's one of the biggest nerds in the game, and one of the biggest basketball geeks in the game. And so it's like he is fully aware that like what posterity means in this game. And I think he was just like, I get to be part of that. It's like, even if I do nothing, if I'm just the guy who watches LeBron and Durant the entire time, like, I'm going to think that's cool because like 12-year-old Tyrese Haliburton would never think he'd get to do that. So like, how am I not going to just swim in this? And he did. But I guess he had a calf thing. I guess he might have had, I don't know if the hamstring got tweaked or whatever, but Rick Carlisle said it was like a lost summer for him physically, which is not a thing he was saying in November, but is a thing that he started saying in like February. And you're like, okay. But it's probably true. He didn't look great, but more to the point, I think he's, make or miss is a big deal for him mentally. Because one, the game just opens up when he hits threes. Like, he can create so much more. He can get downhill so much more. If he's shooting well enough to create gravity, then he becomes a much better player. If he's not, he becomes very beatable because he's just not that physically strong. He's not going to will himself to buckets in the lane like obviously Giannis would do, but even like somebody like Dame can do. He can't just go in the lane and bounce off 3 bodies and score. Like, he's got to have space to operate. And he only gets space if he makes shots. And he knows that. And so when the ball isn't going in, he gets really frustrated. I think he was just really messed up at the beginning of that year. And, just since then, he's since the ball started going in, I think he was really able to kind of like let himself go a little bit, like kind of forgive himself for the first 15 games of the year. And like, I think since then you saw a mental switch. And then I think, he got that All-Star break he got some time just off his feet. That's the first All-Star game he hasn't participated in any way. He did the Futures game the first 2 years. He did the All-Star game the last 2 years. I think he really just needed those 5 days. And since then, you've just seen him, just blossom. And even, again, even as the shooting numbers have come down, like the creativity has been fantastic. The turnover number is so low. It's ridiculous. So honestly, this stretch is the best I've seen him play. Like legitimately, especially even when teams know he's coming. Like I think even like early last year and like there was some level of who even is this guy. And now everybody's obviously been gearing up for him the whole time. And now he actually finally has counters for that.
This will be interesting, Dustin, because unlike last year when it was Dame and Patrick Beverley and Malik Beasley, it's Gary Trent 6'5", Kevin Porter 6'6",
Taurean Prince.
I don't think Andre Jackson Jr. is going to play, but AJ Green, even if it has to switch 6'4", Taurean Prince, too slow for Tyrese, but 6'8". If there's a a switch there. So to your point of letting him getting going, I'm curious. Like I feel like the Bucks feel they're a little better positioned to create more problems for him on the perimeter. Where if there is a switch or there's a screen or pick and roll, like the guys can get over better. They're younger, they're more athletic, and they're bigger. And they can't go hunt Dame. And while there are no all defensive players on the Bucks currently, like they're a better unit in that way. So that'll be interesting to see because clearly he's the head of the snake, right? And anybody is better if Tyrese is 5 for 16. Like they'll live with that all day. And then if he all of a sudden is not shooting because it's not, to your point, he's not confident, that changes the dynamic. Like they're all good players, but I still think the Pacers, kind of like the Bucks now, are like some of the parts good, right? Like they've got a star, and the Bucks star obviously is Giannis, but like they're not rife with all stars up and down the roster, right? So it'll be interesting to see. If the Bucks feel they have a better handle or can have a better handle on him this year as opposed to last season.
I think they are better. They are better built for it. I think throughout this season, I'd have to remind myself of just the individual numbers in the game. Obviously, he hit the big one. Again in that sort of miracle 4-point play. I don't think he even shot particularly well in that game, as I recall correctly. I think if I'm not mistaken, it was terrible up until then. But yeah, no, I think I do think they are better built for it. Like I said, they don't have they can't hunt Dame. There's Beverly is a different kind of assignment or a different kind of defender. Obviously, he's going to harass the heck out of you, but you have the size advantage. So I think there is more for them to deal with. I think they've done a better job really over the last couple months of figuring out what to do when he's really locked up, when an individual defender is doing a really good job on him. There were his lowest scoring games this year have been games where it's like there's been somebody was assigned to face guard him and he just decided to stand back and let them play 4-on-4. And that did not go well. And I think he sort of learned lessons for that. Like there were moments when he thought like, okay, this is the right move. Like for instance, when they were in Memphis, Jalen Wells face guarded him. Just followed him all over. Just didn't, back to the play. Didn't even know what was happening. Just staring Tyrese in the chest the entire time, just not looking away. And Haliburton was like, okay, I'm going to stand back here and just let you guys play. And they had 45 points in the first quarter, and they were like, okay, well, this is going great. And it just slowly disintegrated after that. Luguentz Dort took him out. Tamani Kamara in Portland took him out. And I'm trying to think if there was one or two more in that vicinity, basically like it was pre-All-Star break. But really it seemed like since the break, and I think I want to say they opened up with Memphis out of the break, and knowing what Wells had done, they were like, okay, we're going to target Wells with as much screening as we could possibly get. Like we are not letting this happen again. Like that is going to be like the number one priority. And so I think they've gotten better at that. In terms of being able to counter when a team really wants to take Haliburton away, one way or the other. And I don't think he shot at all in the first half against Denver. I think he maybe took one field goal attempt, but they had the double. Basically he was drawing Christian Brown and Nikola Jokic, and he just picked them apart passing wise. And so it's like, it's basically like, if you're going to say, okay, we're going to take him out, like Haliburton's goal at this point is to make you commit two bodies. If you're going to take him out, it's going to take two guys. That's the way he wants to play. Now, is all going to go that way? You don't know, but I mean, and you've got to be able to fight. Like obviously, when you're dealing with when you got Brook Lopez as an option as opposed to Jokic, as opposed to some of the other centers that have to guard him, they're better equipped for that than some other teams. But that's, I think, going to be Haliburton's goal. Is if you are going to take me out, I want to force you to use two bodies to do it, and that way, at least it gives them a chance of finding somebody else to score. And like you said, I mean, there's not all-stars other than that. Well, there is Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam is an all-star caliber player. Aaron Nesmith has shot the ball really, really well, really since the break. Miles Turner, really the first 10 games out of the break, he was pretty sensational. Haliburton was getting a lot of guys to follow him coming downhill on a pick and roll or a pick and pop, and basically throw back to Turner for that three at the top of the key. So he's got counters for some of the things that people can do well. But like I said, I do think Milwaukee has a better chance of defending him man to man and not needing two bodies than they did last year.
Jim, you obviously you said this. Giannis is going to be the focal point. Giannis is the most important component. But can this Bucks team play like it has? They closed the season with 8 straight wins, so it's not like there's caveats on some of those wins. But like they were playing okay without Damian Lillard. Who can they play like they did in the regular season and win this playoff series? And that would include Kyle Kuzma not being as good offensively, as I think the Bucks hoped that he would be. It includes Ryan Rollins contributing, and it includes Kevin Porter Jr. having the role that he has coming off the bench and kind of being that shot creator, that sort of lightning off the bench. Can they do what they've been doing and win, or do they need something that we haven't seen that they're going to have that has to rise up for this to work out?
I think for this series, look, I mean, Dustin broke down why the Pacers are a better defensive team with Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith, and that is true. And so I don't know their exact splits since their returns, but let's just go big picture. The Pacers are a slightly below average defensive team, right? Like they're 17th in points allowed, right around middle of the pack defensive rating. So maybe they're a little better than that with their whole lineup. What does that mean? That means they're not top 10, they're not top 5. So I don't think the Bucks role players need to do anything fantastical other than what they've been doing. I mean, the Bucks don't shoot enough threes, but the ones they do shoot, they tend to make. I think for second, third best 3-point shooting team in the league. Giannis, look, if you're not going to have Pascal Siakam defending Giannis one-on-one, like that is, Pascal will not last very long in these games. Multiple people are coming to help Giannis, and he will do the thing, right? So it's just a matter of, do they hit shots on an offensive level, and then conversely not turn the ball over. And that is where there are some inexperience concerns. Again, Ryan Rollins, Kevin Porter Jr. I don't remember Gary Trent's last playoff series, which probably speaks to that. So I think that's where the Bucks role players, I think, JR, need to fit to make this work for Milwaukee. Not doing anything above and beyond, just don't be bad. Don't try to do some things you shouldn't do, right? And no, I mean, the Pacers, I don't think, are a team that requires that, to be honest. Like, they're not playing the Cleveland Cavaliers or the Oklahoma City Thunder, where you have to be sharp all the time. I do think the Pacers, there's just their size or lack thereof in certain areas. The way they play, I think the Bucks role players, I think, can do what they need to do. We saw it in 4 games in the regular season as well, JR. So really, it's just how disciplined are the Bucks in transition defense and taking care of the ball. And that, over 82 games, JR, we have seen that discipline fritter away at times. And so that is, I think it's a cliche for the Bucks to say, well, focus on us. I think that really is the case in this instance, because the Pacers will do their things. Rick Carlisle's a great coach. They're going to run some interesting stuff. But do they not give the ball away? Do they pay attention and not let those guys just run back for kick aheads and all of those things? And so, yeah, I think if the Bucks just do that, JR, they don't need more in this series. They just need to kind of be who they've been since Giannis has sort of taken over the show once Dame's been out.
Dustin, I'm curious to your thoughts on the rivalry here. So there's this goes back to 2023, late 2023. There's the game ball gate. I think everyone knows what I'm talking about when I say that. There's Tyrese Haliburton mimicking Damian Lillard. He did it last year. He did it again this year. No one noticed as much, but he did that again. Very quick. Maybe in a way that was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Like, just do that wrist out there. And look, it's all fun. Probably.
I guess.
There's a lot of technical fouls between these teams. I was trying to document them. There are so many. I don't know. Maybe that's normal. Maybe I misunderstand how many technical fouls you would normally get, but it does. It's not normal. No, it does seem like these teams don't love each other. What is Indiana's perspective on the Bucks? Like, is it a thing in Indiana, or is this just this isn't like Pistons Bulls or anything, is it?
It's a thing. It's not like Pistons Bulls, but it is a thing. I think, man, I don't even know. I think one part of it is like how do I express this exactly? So it was Bobby Portis came up with the front running thing. I think.
It was. Bobby was the first. He said that last year.
I think he was the first one that used it. Yeah.
Bobby has been the main character through all of this.
Exactly. And what's interesting, Haliburton likes Bobby. because they played together on World Cup and they seem to get along well. But like Haliburton, as a team, the Pacers are bothered by this. It's not that they're bothered by like an accusation. They're like, are we supposed to talk when we're losing? Like they're kind of confused at the insinuation. Like they're like, they never talk when they lose. They're like, well, who does? What do you mean? Like,
I love that so much.
And like more than once, like Haliburton has sort of made a point to be like, we're going to start talking at the beginning. Like we're going to talk at the beginning, and because they're getting the Pacers are getting a rep for being a team that shatters a lot and talks a lot of mess, and and Haliburton's at the front of that because Haliburton's big wrestling guy and that's kind of who he is, he's really big into making a lot of noise, and and they've got different guys that talk different ways. Siakam does it one way, Haliburton does it another way, Mathurin does it another way, TJ McConnell does it his own way. And so they do make a lot of noise and they do chatter a lot, and they're like, okay, and so that the front running thing kind of hit them, and they're still like kind of looking around, like not sure why that's even a problem. And so like the Bucks are kind of at the forefront of that, I think, of saying like when they're supposed to talk, when they're not supposed to talk, and all that kind of thing. So I think that's kind of an issue for them. The ballgate thing was weird, and so I think they just created a very awkward, I don't know, weirder than awkward kind of deal. I don't know, even though Beasley's gone, like Haliburton did the shimmy thing to him, I think too. So it's like I think like on one hand they're also embracing it because like they're at least good enough to have a rival. And that hasn't been the case for a while. They kind of feel like this is part of what it means to be a team that's on the rise, that's a playoff class team, is to have somebody that you go at enough that doesn't like you. And so I think they kind of embrace that to a certain extent. I wouldn't go so far as to say like it's a thing. Like, I don't think anybody like Indy proper doesn't hate Milwaukee as a city in any way, or despise the Bucks in even ways that they used to hate the Knicks or anything like that. But among the players themselves, there's definitely they definitely feel like it's a rivalry. I think they mostly embrace it, but like the front running accusation is still a thing that they're just sort of confused by. But they kind of earned, they do talk a lot, and it's not like they don't. It's not like they shy away from that. It's not like they've got no faults in this, that they've just been sitting there saying nothing and being nice to everyone. The Dame, stealing other people's celebrations is a way to get under their skin, like very clearly. Like with Dame, with the shimmy, with this, with that. Like Haliburton's big on this. It's like, I mean, like he views the world through a WWE lens, like he really does. As far as that kind of stuff is concerned. So it's like, well, you're playing heel, Ty. That. So like that's.
And there's something that comes back with that, right? And so look, the Pacers won the series last year. Bobby gets ejected in a huge game. No longer with the team, but Patrick Beverley throws basketballs at fans, right? And gets sued. And so clearly the Bucks broke mentally in that series. And if now the Pacers really didn't have a chance, I'd argue, JR or Dustin, to do that because the Bucks kind of handled business in the 4 regular season games. It's a topic here. Like, Ben Steele's going to write this for us, but we asked Doc Rivers about Bobby and Kevin Porter Jr. Specifically in this series. And why would Andrew Nembhard not get up in Kevin Porter's face and talk some trash? Why would they not get up in Bobby's chin and say some stuff? Because it worked last year. Kevin Porter has 7 technicals. He got a flagrant for chasing down Jalen Duren after definitely an illegal screen that wasn't called, but Porter dunked on Duren, flexed in his face. Duren gave it back to him, and then Kevin ran down the lane. Like Kevin and Rudy Gobert got into it at half court. Kevin standing over him with balled up fists, right? For as great as Kevin Porter Jr. has been, he has a temper. That's one of the reasons he's in Milwaukee. In terms of being suspended and traded from Cleveland and being suspended in Houston. And those were with teammates. Those were teammate issues and coaches issues with this. So like, why would the Pacers not push the envelope? I'm not, and that's not even out of character. I mean, we're kind of talking about like, we got to smirk with Tyrese as a WWE guy, but I'm not even really talking about Haliburton. Like, he's not the one getting chest to chest. That's Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard. And I don't see Siakam doing that either, Dustin, but even if he talks, like, I'm thinking those two guys, they're going to foul Giannis hard.
Right. Nembhard,
and that's why Bobby was ejected the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because Nesmith's fouling Giannis in a way he didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And why would they not do it? That's what I'm saying. And like, they're at home, they have home court. Mm-hmm. Whether that's their reputation or not, or I mean, it definitely with the Bucks, it's a thing. And now Giannis did the Giannis thing. He jokes and says, we talked about this yesterday. Kevin Porter in particular, his first playoff in that intensity. And Giannis is like, well, my first playoff, I tackled a guy and got ejected. He's like, don't do that. And so it's funny. It goes viral. It's a Giannis thing, but that's like a real thing. Like Kevin Porter can't go tackle Andrew Nembhard, right? And like, because A, like, first of all, you shouldn't do it. But B, this is up at jsonline.com right now. Like Kevin Porter arguably is their second best player right now. He needs to be good for them to win the series and not get wrapped up into McConnell stuff. You know what I mean? And so I'm fascinated by that. Like, I'm sure these guys, whatever, Dustin, what they may say or not say about this, or Doc's like, well, I don't think they have like a Kevin and Bobby strategy. And maybe they probably don't, but I think in the moment, how could they not try to push the buttons? Because it's literally happened. It's worked. And to JR's point about all these technicals, like the Bucks have been the ones to break on this. Mm-hmm. Like I haven't seen any Pacers getting ejected and not playing because they've got 5 fouls and flagrants. Right. So why wouldn't they push the envelope to the best that they can and just see what happens?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Nembhard is definitely wired to do that. Like Nesmith, I think, was more of a case of like he's just in that position of having to guard Giannis, and he's just doing whatever he can. Like he has drawn that assignment a lot, and he is giving up a lot of size, and he's just praying for dear life. I mean, Nesmith is he's a ferocious competitor, but like he doesn't say a whole lot. Like Nesmith is a really good dude, but he's just not like it's
the play. It's a style of play though,
right?
And so whether or not he's like talking trash, it's like, will he grab Giannis in midair? Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. And then that's going to cause a problem, right? And so like that's, I think that's where I'm coming from with that. Now, Bobby, to Bobby's credit, he was asked about this and he's like, look, man, I've been ejected. So first of all, that ejection changed Bobby's game in a way that it didn't affect his play, but it bothered him that he took himself out of that game. And then he said, my grandma died. I've been robbed. I've been suspended. He's like, there's nothing the Pacers can do to me in this series. He's like, I am there to hoop. Doesn't mean they're not going to try. And so I am interested. And it doesn't mean he's not going to feel some kind of way if Giannis gets undercut or has a hard foul or whatever it may be. So that'll be really interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think I remember I think I had to miss that game for something last year, the Portis game, because I think Nembhard made a point of saying like what he did to get one technical and not two technicals, and I think I've seen Nembhard one time went off the handle this year because Rudy Gobert gave him just this forearm shiver to the face. But mostly Nembhard knows exactly how far he can push it. Like he's got this quiet, wiry, but willing to mess with you competitiveness. He's just got an interesting ability to instigate without it looking like he is. So Nembhard more than Nesmith has that capacity, but Nesmith's style of play, just what he has to do to hang on for dear life when he's guarding guys that are way bigger than him, because he's willing, he's a fighter that way, might go too far. So we'll see. I mean, it'll be very interesting. They are aware of what they're dealing with Bobby, and they're aware with what happened last year. So
as we get close to the end here, I'm going to need your predictions, and I'm going to give you mine. You know how pessimism is my brand. I think the Bucks are going to win this series. I think they're going to win it in, we'll say, 6 games, maybe even 5. I've become a believer in the Giannis will not let this happen again. We have also talked about, Jim, on previous podcasts, like Giannis could score 55 points a game and the Pacers could still win games in this series. So that's not a guarantee that Giannis can singularly do what he wants to do. But I'm going to go with that. And then they'll lose in 4 to Cleveland in the next round. That's where I'm at. We have to preserve a little of the pessimism. Jim, you go first, and then I'll ask Dustin. And if you don't want to predict the series outcome, I understand. It's lame, but I understand. But then give me some prediction for what we're about to see starting Saturday at Gainbridge Fieldhouse over the next 7 games.
Look, I mean, I don't know what Dustin's going to say, but maybe this is going to go chalk. I swear we're not homers here.
I make no concessions in that regard.
You're you. You're a doomer.
I'll do whatever.
A doomer who occasionally believes to the fullest capabilities, and then you don't.
Right out.
But no, I'm just gonna look at the Bucks. This is not like last year. The Bucks won 3 of 4 in the regular season. The 4th one went to the final seconds. The Bucks have the best player on the court, who is playing at arguably his best level in his career. And they've had time to make this work. This is not sort of an adjustment needing to happen in a couple days of practice. I do think the Bucks can win a game in Gainbridge. We have seen that this year. And so, I'll put Bucks in 6 as well, because unlike 2022, when the Bucks had a closeout 6 game at Fiserv against the Boston Celtics and Giannis was doing the thing, that Bucks team thought it was over. They thought going home, Bucks in 6, 2nd year in a row, defending champs. Bobby's waving bye-bye to the crowd in Game 5 in Boston, and they didn't handle business. Jason Tatum had his signature, still arguably a signature playoff moment, and we know what happened. I don't think this Bucks team doesn't have that. I think they know if they get one in Gainbridge, and they can win in game 6 at home, like it kind of has to get done. So I'm going to say Bucks in 6 in that way. So the little bit of intangibles there, but definitely rooted though in what we've seen this season in terms of this matchup. And yeah, Dame is a huge loss. I just think this series, this matchup lends itself to the Bucks being able to sort of work around that, as opposed to if they had a different first round matchup.
I'm going to say Pacers in 7, but I could absolutely be totally. I mean, I guess the thing is I feel like I'm going to watch this game in game 1, and by halftime, I'm going to have a totally different opinion than what
if it goes 7 games, I'd pick the Pacers too. Honestly, I certainly don't see the Pacers closing it out there. I don't think they've got if they don't get if they don't beat Milwaukee in game 3 or game 4, if it's 2-2 through the first 4 games, then the Pacers aren't winning in 6. I don't know if the Bucks might be able to go back to game 5 in Indy and pull it off, but I don't think if they don't win the first 2 in Milwaukee, they're not winning game 6 in Milwaukee. So I could see this game. I could see this series just going a whole bunch of different ways. I mean, I can imagine myself sitting, halfway through game 2 and saying the Pacers are going to cruise through this. And I can see myself saying, oh, they've got no chance. Giannis is going to get 40 in every single one of these games and they have no hope. And so I could really see it going dramatically either way, and it wouldn't surprise me. I feel like any range of outcomes, I truly consider this a coin flip series. I really do. 4-5, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously just the force of Giannis makes the whole thing different. I mean, I certainly think they can, to your point, beat. I mean, and you've seen them do this before. Obviously, last season, I mean, I think what did Giannis have 50 something in Indy in one of the games, and the Pacers managed to win that game. I mean, that's doable, and so I think it really comes down to how well does Milwaukee shoot it and how well the Pacers shoot it. I mean, I think basically if Haliburton's making a lot of threes, Pace is really tough to beat. If he's not, they become really, really beatable. And same difference, I think. I think Bucks are actually first in the league in 3-point percentage. And so if they, like Gary Trent tends to kill the Pacers. And so if Gary Trent and Kevin Porter Jr. and Kuzma are getting a lot of open threes and Giannis is being Giannis, then Milwaukee can roll this thing. One thing I just noticed, just remind myself of, the last game in Milwaukee, Pacers' first unit was really, really good. And the second unit was atrocious. And so that was a big reason why I lost that game. So it's so I kind of feel like I've seen moments for both of these where you look at the main 5, one looking way better than the other. But it being the case for both ways. I mean, as much as, the Pacers still lost that game and lost it handily, it was because anytime they made a sub, just the bottom fell out. And Pacers bench isn't that bad, but it hasn't been very good lately either. So I could see, and obviously a bench functions differently in the postseason than it does in the regular season. You're not running 5 out there together as a shift anymore. So I'm going to say Pacers in 7, but literally any outcome would not surprise me.
Yeah, it's these are the 2 worst road teams in the playoffs, I believe.
That's wild.
Maybe did the Clippers finish with I know the Bucks finished with a 500 record on the road, but that was because they played the Pelicans and the Sixers at the end of the year. Got the job done, great. But winning road games for these 2 teams, not the best.
No.
So
no.
Pacers in 7, chalk, each team wins all its home games could be it's just me feeling I've seen the Bucks win in Gainbridge this year. Right.
Oh,
whereas of course the Pacers came to Fiserv and won a game here, right? And so you're right, Dustin. I it's a 4-5, I think, in the truest sense. So without a doubt, it should be entertaining on ESPNU and ESPN the Ocho and some other channels no one can get.
People were mad when the 1 p.m. tip came out. I'm like, oh, who cares? It's the first series. And they're like, oh, you're going to be on ESPN. You don't. There's a U there for a reason. You're not even. No one.
NBA TV. The disrespect is real for Tyrese.
It's so real. It's so real.
Real. Extremely.
Indiana versus Milwaukee, 2 Midwestern teams.
Yeah.
We have to find a channel for them.
There are no
Incredible.
humans in the Midwest.
There are none. We are living between cornfields and forests and all that. But somewhere in the density of that world, there will be a game April 19th. That's Saturday at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in downtown Indianapolis, a real life city with real life people in it. They'll be back after a couple games there in Milwaukee. That'll be on Friday, April 25th, back at Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee. A couple games there as well. Both of these guys will get you caught up with everything that's going on. That's Jim Owczarski, Bucks beat reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, Dustin Dopirak of IndyStar.com. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. We will be chatting again very soon.